1968 out of frustration with the kind of failures of attempts to desegregate the schools and the growing segregation of the schools. Some sections of the black community argued for, okay, forget, white parents are treating us badly and white teachers treating us badly. Forget it. We want to just control our own schools, in the black community. So there's a struggle for community control over schools. And they argued, well, white people have control of their schools. Why is it that in these urban neighborhoods they seem to be controlled by everybody else except by us? So they didn't even necessarily insist that they had like all black teachers, but they wanted to have control over things like who were going to be the teachers and things like that. And so they transferred out, in one school in Brooklyn, they transferred out some teachers that they felt were hostile to this, that they didn't want in their school, and the UFT, my union, the United Federation of Teachers, went on strike. We actually went on a series of strikes against that. And my view of this, that I want to put out, is that this was a moment when the kind of civil rights coalition was fracturing. People who had been against Jim Crow when it was in the South were not standing against Jim Crow when it was in the North. And there was a kind of decision to make. It was like, what side are you on? Like I was saying, I think the black struggle didn't go far enough. And there's a certain kind of liberal view that was like, once Jim Crow's off the books, black people stop complaining, now just get your education and do like we did. You see what I mean? And I think that was the dominant view in the UFT, and so they didn't see the ghetto insurgents as allies, but as like people trying to go too far. And they sided with the bureaucratic DOE, Department of Education machinery, and it led to a very, it's a strike against the black community. It led to very bad blood and an antagonism, exactly as you're describing, between the idea of teacher power and what that means and like student, parent, community power. There are counterexamples, though, that are important for us, especially when you have unions that are led by radicals or have a strong radical presence in them. Unfortunately, the precursor to the UFT, the teachers union, led by the Communist Party, is a better example, but that's like back in the 30s. There are other stories from the 60s, though, like in places where there was a larger number of black teachers, black and Latino teachers, like in Chicago. I found an example of at least one school where the struggle for community control was parents and students and teachers fighting together, challenging the administration and fighting for community control of the school. So I think the vision, the idea that you had that like, wait, I'm not a scab, I want to be for teacher unionism and for student power, that's a radical idea. And I think we have to understand that that might upset what has been the dominant paradigm of teacher unionism, but that's what we should be about. We should be about anti-racist unionism. We should be about social justice unionism. We should be about unionism that fights not just for our wages and benefits, but fights for the kind of education that we think people want, that agrees with the parents that they need more power in the schools. Less mayoral dictatorship and more parent power. So that is a different kind of unionism, though. And so while I am against what the UFT did, I'm still loyal to the idea of teacher unionism, but it's just a different vision that I think we have to fight for. It's not happening right now.